Hello, are you out there? I'm Mark with Homebrew Fever Dreams, and we've got another one from our RuinQueenofOblivion here on the r/Homebrew Fever Dreams. Circle of the Eternal Winter Druid and Ice-themed spells. Associated new ice-themed spells. Sorry for doubling up on the content, but they were kind of made together for reasons I will explain below. Once more, credit to the Bearded Russian for helping me with this one. Yes, thank you, Bearded. Strangely quickly, I only gave it to him yesterday. This is 23 days ago. I've had a backlog on stuff. By the way, if you're watching and you're like, what am I watching? This is reviews for homebrew content. So you're welcome to post your homebrew art, stories, subclasses, spells, game systems that aren't even D&D, whatever. Put them there on r/Homebrew Fever Dreams. And given time, I will get around to reviewing it, giving you comments, giving you feedback, and just having fun with it. Let's dig in. Anyway, the Circle of the Eternal Winter, or Circle of the Rime as I originally called it, you decide which name is better, was made a while back because I wondered why we didn't have an ice-themed druid circle. Yeah, I know that's not much of an origin story, but that's why I made it. You don't need much of a good reason. I like Eternal Winter more than Circle of the Rime. Only because Circle of the Eternal Winter, I think, has a better juxtaposition to Circle of Wildfire down here, which is the fire subclass for druids. Okay, yeah. I like the idea of making a counterpart to the Circle of Wildfire. So I kind of worked that into the mechanics a little while, making it its own things. The problem, of course, is that Wizards of the Coast didn't bother to give us enough ice-themed spells for some reason. So me and another friend brainstormed some new spells to fill out the spots. So yeah, that's why I included the spells. We've got 3 new spells for you folks today. And I think one of them needs some editing, but you'll get the thing. We'll go over all of them. So shall we get into it? Yes, please. Circle of the Eternal Winter. Circle spells. When you join this circle at 2nd level, you've committed yourself to exploring the harsh starkness of the cold. Your path towards this understanding grants you access to some spells when you reach certain levels in this class, as shown in the Circle of Eternal Winter spells table. Once you gain access to one of these spells, you'll always have it prepared, and it doesn't count against the number of spells you can prepare each day. If you gain access to a spell that doesn't appear on the Druid spell list, the spell is nonetheless a Druid spell for you. Standard boilerplate. Circle of Eternal Winter spells. Here we go. 1st level, you get Ice Knife and Armor of Agathes. 2nd level, Warding Wind and Snillock Snowball Swarm. That alliteration. 3rd level, Wrath of the Frost Maiden, with the little asterisk indicating it is a new spell today. Sleet Storm. Now, at 4th level, we get Ice Storm, and we also get Freeze Boil, but freeze only for this subclass. But Freeze Boil is a spell that has a hot and a cold element for any other casters that would gain access to this. The Star, because it's new, the asterisk. And then finally, at 5th level, Cone of Cold and Mass Armor of Agathes. Yet again, I believe that needs an asterisk. I know you're just kind of upping Armor of Agathes, but it is new, so asterisk that one, I would say. A little quick edit. When we do these reviews, folks, for anyone who's not Rune Queen, I do try and point out it's a real live read edit thing. So if I see little mistakes, but we also talk about things like balance, theme, fun, ease of understanding. Those are the types of things that we analyze when we're evaluating homebrew. All right? Frozen Heart. So also at 2nd level, your commitment to the uncompromising path you've chosen hardens your body as well as your spirit. You have resistance to cold damage. Additionally, you can expend a use of your Wild Shape feature as a bonus action on your turn to cloak yourself in a facet of the Eternal Winter. You gain one of the following benefits of your choice. And I like that. And the idea that you're expending a Wild Shape, as though rather than transforming into an animal, you are transforming your body. Like, it's maybe it's like a magical barrier that you're getting, but maybe it's like actually something inside of you is freezing or hardening or transforming to allow these capabilities. But, that's just a bit of theater of the mind that you'd want to define if you were going to play this subclass. So here we go. There's 3 options. Bone Chilling. Once per turn, when you would deal cold damage with the Druid spell that you cast, you may add your Wisdom modifier to the total damage you deal to one target of that spell. So yeah, at level 2, it's going to be 4 plus 4, plus 5, at your first ability increase. Unrelenting. You gain temporary hit points equal to your Druid level plus your spell modifier. Your Wisdom modifier. Will these temporary hit points persist, you gain a +1 bonus to your AC and have vulnerability to fire and radiant damage. Very interesting. And I think that's pretty well balanced because the temporary hit points is a nice buff up plus the +1 to AC. So it's kind of like 2, but you have the vulnerability to the fire and the radiant. So it's like a kind of knocks it down a little bit in strength. Obviously, any temporary hit points you have will be consumed first. Your DM should know that, or you should know that as the player, and they're deducted first. So once that's gone, you will lose that AC bonus, but you also lose the vulnerability. So it's probably only going to last for about 1, maybe 2 hits at very high levels. And finally, our third option is Punishing. You may expend your reaction to force a creature that deals damage to you to make it a dexterity saving throw against your Druid's spell save DC. As long as you can see that creature and it is within 30 feet of you, on a failure, that creature takes cold damage equal to 1d8 plus half your Druid level rounded down. So that'll get pretty beefy up at the higher levels. But I kind of like the feel of that, the theme of that. It literally could be, because you have to see them, that you're looking at them, right? Like just just like with a freezing, like death, glare, and just your eyesight, that's how the magic's transmitted, and they literally just take the cold damage back. Or it could be like a cold wind, flows from your body to them or something. You see like leaves and stuff, frosting over as a column of cold emanates from you to them. However you want to do it. But I just like imagining what that would be like. Regardless of which option you select, this ability lasts for 10 minutes or until you choose to end it on your turn. No action required. If you expend a use of Wild Shape while already under the effects of this ability, the first effect ends. So you cannot stack these. You can't have 2 at once, nor can you be a wild-shaped animal with one of these effects. That is how that reads. Yeah, I think it's important. You always got to be careful when you allow people to combo stuff. Things can get broken really fast. So I think it's wise of Rune Queen and the bearded Russian to put in that caveat that no, you can't run multiples of these at once. Stuff could get kludgy. All right, Avatar of Rime. Starting at 6th level, your very presence can bring down the Wrath of Winter on your enemies. As a bonus action on your turn, you can invoke this ability to surround yourself with a howling whirlwind of blinding snow and pelting ice for 1 minute or until you choose to end it on your turn. No action required. For the duration, an area around you in a radius of 10 feet, so 20 feet across, becomes difficult terrain and heavily obscured. Fantastic. Once you use this ability a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, you cannot do so again until you complete a long rest. So I like that this scales up as you advance in levels and gain more proficiency bonus. But it's very cool. It's I don't want to say role play. It's a great tactical ability to use in combat. It doesn't actually deal any damage, but it would allow you, if you were being surrounded or overwhelmed, or if you were trying to hide with you and your party members, you get to obscure yourselves. And just the theme of it, just like that, the moisture, like you could be in the middle of a hot desert, but the sand would start swirling around and frosting over, and like hail and fog and everything, freezing cold would circle you in that situation. I could even see your DM potentially allowing it to potentially disperse in the immediate area a poison or a cloud of some type that could normally be dispersed with a gust of wind, just for color. I could also see you maybe trying to rules lawyer it a little bit to where it would give you very temporary, like a 1-round relief from some sort of heat effect, like being in a furnace or being in the elemental plane of fire. Just that cold magical air neutralizes it for that brief moment. But maybe in those cases, you lose the benefit of the difficult terrain, heavily obscured. I don't think that's something that Rune Queen should put into the into the text here. I'm just saying as a role play, if you were trying to like argue with your DMs, like, hey, would this help clear out the poison fog? You could argue based off the reading of this ability. Your DM's like, yeah, I guess it is like a howling whirlwind. All right, it won't dissipate the whole cloud of poison, but in the radius you are, it will keep it away from you for a round, right? And then once the spell's done, the fog would come back in, or So, yeah, whatever. It's homebrew. That's what we're doing here. We're just having fun. Icy Veins. At 10th level, your ability to impose the might of eternal winter grows, empowering your frozen heart. The facets you can cloak yourself improve in the following ways. The facets you can cloak yourself. The facets. Maybe rewrite the sentence. The facets you can cloak yourself in improve in the following ways. The facets with which you can cloak yourself improve in the following ways. In addition to those granted at level 2. So we're going to upgrade Bone Chilling, Unrelenting, and Punishing. Okay. Bone Chilling. Once per turn, when you would deal bludgeoning, piercing, slashing, thunder, or necrotic damage, you could choose to deal cold damage instead. Okay. It's just a little versatility, allowing you to strike at weaknesses and vulnerabilities of your enemies. I like that. Again, very tactical, this subclass, which is part of the theme. Yeah, I like that. Unrelenting. You double your wisdom modifier for the purposes of determining the temporary hit points you gain from this ability. So, not a lot of extra hit points because this is all based off your druid level. So by the time you get to here, you might be at a +5 on your wisdom. You're going to be at 10 for your druid level. So you're already at 15. So let's take it from 15 to 20. Yeah, it's not overpowered for sure. Additionally, as long as your temporary hit points from this ability persist, you have resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage. Oh, there you go. That's good. That's really good. That lasts for up to 10 minutes. So it's kind of like that barbarian, rage resistance kind of thing, but it'll last for 10 minutes. It's level 10, so, it's good. I would use that a lot. A lot. I like it a lot. Punishing. The range of this ability increases to 60 feet instead of 30. Additionally, creatures that succeed on their dexterity saving throw now still take half damage from this ability. Okay, so that just means that you, again, enemies you can see, so you now can look further away and respond to them that way. Punish them for attacking you. Very cool. And you're guaranteed to get a little damage out that way. Frozen Tomb. This is your capstone. Beginning at 14th level, you are at last able to unleash the full might of the eternal winter upon your enemies. Once per turn, if a creature takes 15 or more cold damage from a druid spell or ability of yours, you can force that creature to make a strength saving throw against your druid save DC. On a failure, it briefly becomes completely encased in ice, becoming incapacitated until the end of its next turn. That's right, just... Now, incapacitated is not paralyzed. I know Rune Queen and Bearded know this, but I'm telling you folks that are watching, that aren't them. It just means that they're not going to be able to take an action or a reaction. So I would say it is that not that they're coated in a thick layer, but that frost forms all over their bodies, like crystallized, and as they move, it crackles and sparkles and little flecks of ice shoot off from their joints. They're still able to kind of talk and move, like just, because they just got freezer burned, But this is interesting because to trigger this, it does require that the druid is able to deal 15 or more points of damage. But there is no limit on using Frozen Tomb. And every attack or spell that the druid has that can deal 15 plus damage is going to potentially cause the strength save to be rolled. So it can trigger a lot of times in a day. There's no long rest, short rest, nothing. You just get to use it. You can use it 50 times in a battle, But I don't think it's too strong because it is limited by that 15 damage. Especially for a druid, like hitting, like if you had some sort of ice weapon that would allow you, unlimited attacks, rolling a 15 plus damage is going to be rare for a Druid. So it really is going to require the Druid to be converting other types of damage to cold or using their spell slots. So it's not like it's an infinite thing. And incapacitated isn't paralyzed, so it's definitely less powerful than paralyzed. So I think it's a good balance. And I think you'd have to roleplay that one with the DM. Just talk to him about it. Say, hey, let's see if this works. If it's too much, if it gets broken, we'll tie it to proficiency times per long rest or something like that. Like you can put caps on it if it gets out of control. That's the beauty of Homebrew, folks. Always the players and the DMs who accept Homebrew should know and acknowledge and agree with each other that if something has to be turned up a little bit or turned down a little bit, you're going to do it between sessions once it's proven to be too weak or too strong, right? No hurt feelings. Homebrew is about you folks doing the play testing yourselves. That's why it's Homebrew. It hasn't been heavily play tested. It's not professional grade. Doesn't mean it's not awesome. It just, there's always that vulnerability. So we'll finish up here, 16 minutes in. Okay, we're to our spells. I think there's just 3 of them, so we're close. New spells, Wrath of the Frost Maiden, 3rd level divination, casting time 1 action, range 60 feet, vocal, somatic. Is it semantic or somatic? Gosh darn it. I'm not going to look at every single time I see the S, I'm all schemastic. It's vocal and schemastic. It's just, I don't, somatic. No, I'm going to find out right now. Why? Because I know everyone else wonders. Everyone else is like, I don't know either, Mark. I'm also as dumb as you are. I'm a big dummy dumb. Somatic. Is semantic a word? Semantics is the thing. But somatic is the word. Spellcasting gestures might include a forced gesticulation or an intricate set of gestures. If a spell requires a somatic component, the caster must have free use of at least one hand to perform these gestures. So semantic would be related to words and speaking, but that's what the verbal, the V, verbal, vocal. But somatic is the hand gestures, not semantic. I can't be the only person who questioned that. Sorry. Let's get back to it. Okay. Somatic. Duration, concentration up to 1 minute. So this spell is a little kludgy. I had trouble deciphering it. As an action and a bonus action on subsequent turns, you may target one creature you can see within range, at which you hurl an icy projectile. Icicle. Boom. The target must make a dexterity saving throw. On a failure, it takes 2d cold damage, and its fastest movement speed is halved until the start of your next turn. Fastest movement speed? I think it's just its movement speed is halved. I don't know if fastest is supposed to be in there if you mean something by it, but if you do, it's not clear to me what it means, so clarification, I think. Or is it like flying, swimming, climbing, regular movement, only the fastest of those is halved? I would say no. I would say just all movement types, even, digging through the earth or tunneling. Or am I wrong about that? It's not clear. On a failure or half damage and its movement is unaffected. This, I think, is a miswritten sentence. On a success, it takes half damage and its movement is unaffected. I believe is how that should read. On a success, it takes half damage and its movement is unaffected. Okay? So, a little edit there, Rune Queen. At higher levels, when you cast a spell using a spell slot of 4th level or higher, the damage increases by 1d8 for each slot above 3rd. Now, there's one other thing here that I'm not quite understanding. This is a 3rd level divination. 1 action, 2d8. So, it's no fireball, right? But what it's doing is it's having the movement of your enemy. But what's the condition here? It'll last. That movement's going to be halved over and over? Do they take damage over and over while you're concentrating and as a bonus action on subsequent turns or is it a machine? Is it an ice machine gun, an icicle machine gun? And so you cast it as an action, you shoot the thing and freeze them, and then as a bonus action at each of your subsequent turns, you could shoot again and again and again. Icicle, they make this dex save, they take the damage or half, and they're slowed or not. And then the next turn, bonus action again. I don't think you'd be able to... Gosh, that gets... If that's how it works, it's unusual. There aren't many spells like that. So, clarification, I might be really misreading this. Does this need concentration? I don't know. I certainly don't think you could do a cantrip if you're sustaining the spell in each bonus action for the next 9 turns, right, of combat. The 1 minute, you're doing this magic over and over, aiming, shooting, aiming, sustaining the magic. I don't see how you could possibly get any other spell going. I might be misreading it. Is it an icicle machine gun? Because it requires concentration. In the movement speed is halved until the start of your next turn. So that's the other thing is like, okay, if their movement speed is simply halved for as long as you concentrate, they only make the first dex save. If they fail it, their movement speed is now halved for up to a minute while you're holding concentration. That would work. Is that what you mean? No, because you're saying that there's an end state of the movement speed is only halved until the start of your next turn. So rewrite, edit, clarify, please. Okay, here we go. Freeze Boil, 4th level transmutation, casting time 1 action, range 30 feet. Components, somatic, material, wink, a drop of blood, duration, concentration, up to 1 minute. You attempt to radically raise or lower the internal temperature of a creature you can see within range. The creature must make a Constitution saving throw or suffer one of the below effects of your choice. Creatures lacking blood may make this saving throw with advantage. Nice touch. Constructs, zombies, well, maybe zombies have blood. Skeletons, yeah, okay. On a success, the spell has no effect. Freeze. The target takes 4d8 cold damage and must expend 3 feet of movement for every 1 foot moved for the duration of the spell. So that makes sense with concentration up to a minute. That slowing effect will keep through. Boil. The target takes 48 fire damage and has disadvantage on attack rolls and ability checks for the duration of the spell. Very nice. At 4th level, I think that's quite appropriate. The damage is just kind of a pittance. It's not particularly much, 48 at a 4th level, but the effects can be sustained for up to a minute. It's a significant debuff. I like that. I think Boil might be a little more significant, honestly. But again, this all really themes towards tactical combat pretty nicely. This is a Druid, Sorcerer, Warlock spell. I like that. Oh, and the spell above here, by the way, was Druid Wizard for the Wrath of the Frost Maiden. And then our final spell here today, Mass Armor of Agathes. 5th level abjuration, casting time 1 action, range 30 feet. Components, vocal, somatic. Material, a frozen bead of dew. I like that. And duration, 1 hour. That's significant. As part of a casting of this spell, you select 6 creatures in range that you can see. I would say up to 6 creatures. Each creature is surrounded by a protective magic force manifesting as a spectral frost that envelops them. Each creature gains 10 temporary hit points for the duration. If an affected creature is hit with a melee attack while it has these points, the attacking creature takes 10 cold damage. I like that. And obviously, you might get a couple of, cold damage blasts of 10 out, but you're going to eat through that 10 temporary hit points pretty quickly. Again, the temporary hit points go first. And I would always, in my opinion, the temporary hit points from the highest circle of temporary hit points providing would be eaten first. I don't know if that's in the book, but as a homebrewer or as a DM, I would define that one way or another. If there were multiple sources of temporary hit points in the campaign that were coming up, I would say whatever is the highest level of rarity or casting circle, the most powerful object, artifact above rare, rare above uncommon, but gets used up first. And that is specifically so these very powerful effects, such as anytime a melee creature hits you, they take 10 cold damage. if it's a couple little goblins, or this is actually really fun because if it was like minor things like little vipers or asps, biting for like 1 or 2 points of damage each, you would just pop, freeze, as you went through the 10 hit points. That's kind of cool. That's it. As always, Rune Queen and Bearded Russian, thank you so much for sharing. Rune Queen just posted brand new content yesterday. So this one took 3 weeks to get to. I will try and get to that sooner. But I'm still working through a backlog, but we're getting there. Getting good traction here on the Homebrew Fever Dreams review channel. It's interesting because a lot of people don't get through these massive 25-minute videos, but people have been checking them out, which I appreciate that. Getting like 3 or 4 minutes of watch time. It's not great, but it's better than 30 seconds and then them just logging off. So yeah, there are some people who are kind of delving in a bit, getting a feel for it. I appreciate it. So if you watch, thank you so much. Take care.